He was named coach for life after this day in 1990. Has Lethal Lee's sentence been commuted? Will a Collingwood loss on Sunday see him leave the Magpies? He would have been in his element at Subiaco yesterday as the Blues flexed their muscles against the West Coast. That one-point win, a highlight of the season. Might he bob up under the Gabba lights? The soon-to-be vacated Brisbane coaching job is looming as a plum. Can this man keep him at Victoria Park? We'll be asking him tonight on Talking Footy.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome once again to Talking Footy on the 7 Network right around Australia. Well, I think it was the best match I've seen on television since I came to Channel 7 in 1990. I'm referring to what we watched yesterday at Subiaco. Carlton and West Coast. Mike, Sheahan, Malcolm, Blight, welcome.
Hi, Bruce.
It was like they were playing for a king's ransom, wasn't it?
Well, there was more than that, I think. There was the pride that's at stake between two great competitors. It was a huge game, wasn't it?
It was everything we wanted and a bit more. Blighty?
Look, I just got the feeling in the last quarter that Carlton really didn't want to lose it. Now, that sounds silly. I really thought they'd win it. And, you know, I can't give you any reasons other than it just seemed some endeavour that they just wanted to go through this season as the best performed side since 1970. And that's not to take anything away from the Eagles. Well,
our special guest is Big Al, yes, Allan McAlister, the president of the Collingwood Football Club. Allan, welcome to Talking Footy.
Thanks, Bruce.
Do you get a lot of joy out of Carlton winning a big one like that?
No. I was barracking for the Eagles.
You must have been the only person in Victoria. This goes to Perth, this program, by the way.
Yes, I was barracking for the Eagles, truthfully.
Why?
Because Collingwood and Carlton have been such competitors over a long time, really intense competitors. And whilst I respect Carlton, I also hate them.
Fair enough.
I want to beat them. And if we can't win it, I don't want them to win it.
Gee, well, they were great. I don't know what to say. Let's have a look, Allan. D'Eulio early and then McKenna in the first quarter.
Yeah, that was just bad luck, that one. And unfortunately, that happens sometimes in footy. But this one is one of the classics of all time.
Bang.
And some people may say that it's not as hard as it used to be, but the blokes come quicker and more consistent.
We'll talk about quicker. Is this as good as you've ever seen, Matera?
No. I saw him.
Yeah, he's done it plenty of times, hasn't he?
I've seen him do it plenty of times in grand finals.
His tempo was up a notch yesterday, wasn't it? Anything we've seen.
What about these two incidents that actually cost Carlton a goal? Now, Christou does take his time, I know, but should our game resort to giving free kicks away for this? He takes his time. You'll see him now, he'll say to the umpire, OK, I've got to go. He's just nodded. We did go to a cutaway. We come back, he kicks the footy. Free kick, well, not a free kick, there's a bounce.
Well, that was brought in, Bruce, because of the time wasting of fullbacks and setups and set plays. That's a pretty tough call there. And this one here is, I mean, the other one was a bit debatable, but this one wasn't. And I think he's definitely pushed that over with his hand. The boundary umpire's right there and made an absolute error. Now, if it's that tight, surely you don't call it.
They were all in the same sequence, by the way. I mean, that happened about a half a minute after the Christou free kick. They went to 7 points in front at this stage, West Coast, and you were cheering, Allan.
No, I wasn't cheering, but I was watching intently and hoping.
And Guy McKenna, well, I guess he made an error. And Dean Rice, wasn't he important?
He's been very good for them, hasn't he? He's like all the Carlton blokes, he's a great finisher. I just saw the difference between the finishing yesterday by Carlton and the previous day at the MCG, Richmond and Collingwood. It's just a chasm between them.
What did we learn, Malcolm, out of that match yesterday?
Well, it doesn't show anything at the moment other than that Carlton, over there, probably the hardest. I see David Parkin said it was the hardest. I tend to agree with that. It's the hardest place to win. It doesn't show anything. You don't get a flag for winning that. What you do is have a credible season by doing it, and in fact a fantastic season in Carlton's place. It doesn't mean anything in September, to be honest.
Psychologically?
Psychologically, it's a great feeling to beat the Eagles in Perth, or any side for that matter, I guess particularly the Eagles, but it really doesn't count for that much come the last Saturday in September. We all know that.
Well, we spoke to David today and asked him what was the difference he felt between the Blues and West Coast yesterday.
We had 3 or 4 that had just over 20 possessions, whereas Amateura, for instance, had a 30-possession game. They had sort of extremes of really good and not so good, where we had a very even contribution throughout, and I think that's been one of our, I guess, strengths this year, that we haven't relied on individuals as much as we might have in the past, where we've had some very, very dominant individual players who have carried the can for us, and when they've been down, we've failed. But when they're not contributing in the same, you know, sort of ferocity, we don't seem to be as vulnerable as we were. And that's, I think, a strength that's consistently come out over the year, and I think it's become the reality of the team. I think they really think and believe it because it's based on some sort of fact.
Talking about the depth there, interesting comment, wasn't it?
I think it's critically important that they get the 22 that they're after, Bruce, because their morale's been hammered the last 2 years in the finals. If they go in with the record of the best performed team ever in a home and away season, I think that's going to be important to them.
Well, no Pearce yesterday and no Brown. So
no Brown and an ineffective Kernahan. He'll be better for the work he's getting.
What's it mean to West Coast, I wonder? You talked about Carlton. We look at West Coast's record. You had some good facts and figures on Collingwood today that Allan probably didn't enjoy reading in this morning's Herald Sun, but this is the Eagles against the 6 teams that are confirmed in the finals alongside of them. In chronological order, we were amazed when we looked at these statistics today that they beat North at the Wacker early on and then have lost 7 consecutive games, and 3 of those matches have been at Subiaco, and they've been belted by Richmond at Optus, belted by Geelong at Cardinia Park, and belted by North Melbourne at Optus. What does that tell us about West Coast?
They are absolutely amazing stats for the premiers of last year. What can you say about it? They're still sitting 5th, and probably with their best side. They've had a lot more injury this year than any other year, and I guess a lot of sides had, particularly yours, Allan. I mean, it's had a share of injuries too, but the Eagles have had more injuries than they've had the last 2 or 3 years.
How do you rate West Coast, Allan? What does Collingwood think of them?
I think they're the sleeper. You know, I think Carlton, frankly, have done magnificently, and that game was a tremendous game, and looking at it made me realise the intensity of that level. You know, how in the last quarter it was an enormous game.
Are you saying it's something you haven't been used to by watching Collingwood recently?
I just feel, when you look at the Richmond game and the Collingwood game, I feel that Collingwood have got to take a step up when they've got to get to that level. And watching that, I think there's a lesson to be learned by us. But I also feel that, you know, it's a case of timing yourself. Now, Carlton have been up for a long time. And, you know, history has shown that to come through a final series after being up for so long will take a supreme effort. And if they come through, even I will have to dip my lid to them and say that's a magnificent performance. But I think the other mob are sort of just timed themselves, sleeping there, getting their players back.
Well, that's a good point, Allan.
Big run in.
Because McIntosh, Evans, Mainwaring are probably all Heady, all short of a run, so there's not much in it. Well, there were a number of other big games. Let's look at Brisbane and also Essendon. You were there, Malcolm, for Channel 7. A great night with the fireworks and the lights. It is interesting, isn't it? And this is not really a political comment. This is just an observation. Everybody's anti-big night finals, etc. Yet everybody wants to have lights at their grounds, don't they? I mean, Subi are going to get them, and the Gabba have got them. And to watch footy at night is a pretty special thing, I feel. I'm not advocating for a night final. I'm just saying that's the fact. You like this fellow, don't you, White?
Yes, look, I think this young fella's got something special, and it's no wonder that I believe he's high on the Dockers recruiting list. See that tap over the top there to Voss? Fantastic play. Just football smart, and this nearly won the game.
It was great, wasn't it?
I mean, that's a 20-metre knock back to Andrew Bewes. Not many players think of that. Not many players.
Now, is that a set play, or does Bewesy just call to him when he's at the boundary throw?
We'll get to that. This was the incident just before half-time, wasn't it, Malcolm?
Yes, it was. It looked bad. We deduced that Ashcroft just felt him coming and just pulled back a bit, and his arm just followed him a bit.
The set play?
The set play with White and Bewes.
Oh, well, certainly you try and do that. But the ball had been down that forward line for 5 or 6 minutes and they hadn't scored, and Essendon were coming back then. It was only, it was not much in it then. So to actually do that, to have the spring still left in your legs to do it's a trick.
But what's a half-back flanker doing down there at a boundary throw in the forward pocket, and the ruckman hits it to him? I mean, when do they organise that?
Oh, well, what would have happened, Bewesy followed someone down, and he's just stood that 20 metres off, which was pretty smart.
Well, Robert Walls was asked in Brisbane today by Peter Mears that in light of their recent form, did he give it away too early?
No, I'll have no second thoughts. The decision has been made, and it's the right decision. I've got no regrets. I've had a great time here, and I'll cherish the 5 years that I've been able to be part of being in Queensland.
You've beaten Essendon. You've gone within an ace of beating Carlton. Can you go all the way?
No.
Really? I think he was stunned. Actually, Craig Lambert was in good form too after the match. Matty Campbell spoke to him immediately after the win.
And the results have sort of panned out that Brisbane has still a chance to make the 8. Not something the players were aware of a couple of weeks ago, but now very much in their minds.
Well, 6-7 weeks ago, Matty, you would have told you you're on drugs, but you know, it is a mathematical chance. And you know, we're playing at one game at a time, the old cliche, but you know, it's, as I said, mate, yeah, look at the crowd, it's incredible.
Drugs, Michael. Now, you said the similar thing, didn't you? You said that they could make the 8 some time ago.
And you said I wasn't...
I said Fruit Loops. Yeah. I was kinder to you. But see, even the players that know that are there said you must have been on drugs to say something like that.
Well, they're not there yet, are they?
No, that's true.
But I'll give you some curry next Monday night, actually, if they get there.
Richmond Collingwood at the MCG. You must have been bitterly disappointed. Passion, camaraderie, they've both been mentioned that Collingwood have been lacking at Allan. They didn't show a lot on Saturday.
Well, we've shown a lot of inconsistency this year. We've played some good games, we've played some very poor games. And that's a worry. And I know it's worrying, Lee, that's happening. But we had the ball in our court on Saturday and it didn't come up to scratch, but I think there's a lesson to be learned. Our fellas have got to realise they've still got a chance, and perhaps a big chance. And it's an enormous thing to get in the 8 in this highly competitive business, and I just hope that we're equal to it, and I think we will be. I think we'll be there.
If you did fall in by circumstances next week, you'd tell the AFL you didn't deserve it, wouldn't you?
We will take Carlton on with the greatest aplomb and jolly well beat them. Don't you worry about that. We'll take them on, and I think Carlton will be very concerned they're playing Collingwood in the first game. I think there's something
a couple of big hurdles you've missed, Allan, I think, just on the way through. You've got to... I mean, I think you're only even money against Sydney, and Melbourne are ahead of you. Yeah. And really, your form doesn't warrant you contesting. If you were to play Carlton, Carlton may well have won 20 games to your 10.
Yeah, and Michael, that might be the very secret. That might be the very secret. I believe Carlton would be concerned about playing Collingwood, and I believe that would throw our boys into the fray and say, give it everything, give it the lot, and see how we go. And you know, it's such a topsy-turvy game that you don't know who's going to win.
Allan, do you go into the room?
Week to week.
Sorry, Allan, do you go into the rooms after the match?
Always.
Was there a problem on Saturday between 2 of your players?
Totally figment of the imagination. Absolutely wrong. And these sort of rumours that get round make you sick, really. And frankly, the person that spread them will get my wrath in a couple of days' time.
Do you know who it was?
Yes, I do.
Is he a Collingwood man?
Well, he's not a Collingwood man.
Well, it's Brian Taylor, actually.
Yes, and he will be fronting me on Wednesday. And I'll be talking to him in great depth about what's going on there. When I get to the bottom of it, if the person is guilty, then he'll get the wrath of me.
But, Allan, perhaps you need a bit of passion in your football club, a bit of emotion.
But you don't need that sort of thing.
Well, maybe you need something. I thought it was a very lacklustre performance on Saturday.
I reckon our boys realise it, and I believe that they realise they didn't perform well for our people and our massive supporters, and there's a point to be proved. And that point has got to be next Sunday to show what we're made of at Collingwood, and we've got an opportunity, thank goodness, to do it. And that's the big chance we've got.
Gee, Footscray were a surprise on the weekend. Like Richmond, I think they've legitimised their place in the finals, haven't they? I think we all felt that they'd probably be quick to go out, these two teams, but not anymore.
Well, I think there's even something more significant, and that's that bloke there. I mean, should he have played? I mean, I know it's in hindsight, we can see, but given we were so close to the final, should he have been on the park?
Oh, look, I just can't imagine in this day and age, that close to the finals, that a medical decision like that for a side that is definitely going to play in the top 2 or 3 anyhow would make a decision on that. Gary would have called it himself, I would suggest.
But it's hurt them both ways, hasn't it? He's now in doubt at least for 1 week and maybe 2. And the Geelong players themselves now obviously know that they're vulnerable when he's not on the ground.
Well, maybe.
Well, they gave up a 6-goal lead on Saturday.
Yes, but that's happened. Every side's done that this year at some stage. At some stage, if someone's all fallen over. One of the things I was just going to say about that Richmond-Collingwood game, I had a wonderful 2 hours on the plane coming back from Brisbane Sunday with Kevin Sheedy and obviously the Essendon side. And one of the things that he mentioned about that, you could almost see at the start of the game, Essendon playing the Bears, and it must have been similar in your game, Allan. There are some days in footy that just don't turn out, and the bounce of the ball goes the wrong way, and the blokes fumble, and the kick hits a post. I think Sheeds had one of those days with Essendon on Saturday night, taking nothing away from the Bears, and by the sound of it, you had one of those as well, Allan.
Yes, the first quarter was a shocker. Everything seemed to go wrong, and if they'd kicked straight, Richmond, it would have been all over at quarter time.
Well, more about Collingwood and the other teams that are vying for the finals throughout the program. We look at the ladder, and we see the situation is that if Melbourne wins on Friday night against Brisbane, they're more than likely to make it. Collingwood would have to win by a massive margin on Sunday. If Brisbane win, then Collingwood have got every chance, because all they have to really do is beat Sydney. So at the moment, they're the three that are vying. Adelaide, well, they're 1,000,000 to 1. They've got to hope for a draw Friday night and for Collingwood to be beaten. Now, next week's rounds, Brisbane play Melbourne at the Gabba. At the moment, Brisbane are slight favourites over Melbourne. They've won 5 out of their last 6, Brisbane. On Saturday, the key games, well, Essendon and Carlton, a key game, jockeying for position for Essendon. The same for Geelong at Hawthorn. North look like they'll probably finish in 6th position. Footscray will finish 7th. Richmond, important they beat Adelaide. Adelaide probably out of it. And then on Sunday, the all-important game for Collingwood. Sydney can't make it. And then West Coast would want to just win to make sure they hold their 5th. Now, one interesting one. Because of the situation with Essendon and also Geelong, they're so close in terms of how many points they've scored for and against this year. If this happened, this is one of the scenarios, it doesn't have to be the exact, but if they finish with the same amount of points for and against, and their scores that will do it, Essendon 15-10, Carlton 12-10, Geelong 13-9, 10-8, they could both be beaten, there'll be a playoff. The AFL have decided there'll be a playoff to decide which team finishes second and which team finishes third.
Yeah, Bruce, I mean, a playoff, I just couldn't imagine a club wanting to get involved in a playoff on a midweek game with another final the following week. I mean, I suggested this 12 months ago, or a couple of years ago, that we looked as though we might have been that is Geelong at the time. I suggested a goal-kicking shoot-off, 10 shots with your best goal kicker on the Channel 7 News or something. Everyone laughed at me. Now you're laughing at me. Well, why would you? Yeah, well, it is.
Can you believe that one, Alan?
No, I can't believe that one.
Well, how would you break it then, Alan?
Well, Malcolm, I tell you what I think. If they're fair dinkum about this thing, if that ever happened, I think you'd take it at the last decimal point. If it's even 16 points.
No, but you can't. If they're dead set even, you can't. Mathematically, you can't.
If they're dead set
what would you do? Would you have a playoff?
Well, you know what? I'd worry about that when it happened, because that's about 1,000 away.
You're a good judge, Alan. You're dead right. How would you like Andrew Dunkley versus Jason Daniels first up if you were playing Sydney? Look, we're going to take a break. We'll have a look at some of the really good goals from the weekend.
Close to the finals. Here's Liberatore, another one to be handy.
Collingwood for Footscray.
Bends it back. It's a 2-on-1. This is nearly a goal. This is a great kick by Collingwood. Got it. He's got it. Chris Grant in.
The Bulldogs, Liberatore.
Mansfield. Oh, he tried to beat the field. Here's Libba. Oh, he's got it, the little fella. Great play. Tremendous football, Liberatore.
McManus for the Dockers.
Swings it out wide. That's Dale kick it. We've got a couple of them out there. Derek and Dale, their cousins, around the outer side. This is McManus getting a few touches early. Thought about going to Burton. Decides he will. Burton works the old 1-2, if you don't mind, and goes back to McManus. Sharp angle. Brilliant kick goal.
Fremantle's Peter Mann.
Gets the hand pass away. The long kick in towards full forward. Can Mann take a mark? Dunkley's there. Gray also. The ball's still in play. Mann flicks it round his body. That's going to be very close. I think he's kicked an amazing goal.
Kick it for Sydney.
Kick it who's tried hard with the outside of the foot. Miracle goal.
Chance for Simmons.
Like greased lightning, Matera, the West Coast Eagle.
Interchange bench, here he comes. Matera paddles the ball along in front. Kick a goal. Will it bounce through? Sensational play, Peter Matera.
Monday's experts.
Let's give it away. Welcome back to Talking Footy. The big news today surrounding Gary Ablett and Rowan Smith. Gary Ablett, the Geelong champion, will be interviewed tomorrow by the investigations officer, Martin Ahmad, and so will Rowan Smith and Footscray over that incident at Cardinia